Hello Stampers, this is Dena from PocketFullOfStamps.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. And welcome to the very first video in a series I'm calling Stamping Starters, a Beginner's Guide to Stamping. In this video, I'm going to start at the very beginning by introducing you to the fundamental components of stamping, which are rubber stamps, inks, and paper. In later videos, I'll teach you about different image styles, some beginning techniques, and how to use various tools to add on to what you'll learn here. Stamps, ink, and paper. I remember the first time I was introduced to putting these things together. It was such an amazing feeling because I never considered myself an artistic person, even though I always wanted to be. I quickly realized that the hard part, the art part, was already done for me in the form of a rubber stamp image. I could stamp it, add color, embossing, or glitter, or any number of other things, and voila! I could create something beautiful. I was hooked. As a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator now for over 25 years, I haven't lost my love for picking up a new rubber stamp image, adding ink, and putting it to paper to create something special. I still get excited when someone picks up a stamp for the first time and feels that same spark of creativity they didn't even know they had. Let's start with talking about the types of stamps. Here's a question for you. When you first heard stamps, did you think postage stamps? That's what a lot of people think. It's my opinion that rubber stamps are lots more fun. Stampin' Up! Offers 3 types of stamps in our catalog. The first option is wood mount. Wood mount means that the rubber images are permanently mounted onto wood blocks. Each set comes with all the rubber images and all the different size wood blocks that you need, as well as indexing stickers that go on the top. The images are die cut, so you just punch out an image. There's a peel off sticker on the back, and actually before I peel it off here, my suggestion is to punch out all the images and lay them out on your wood blocks to make sure you're getting the right image on the right block. But once you have that done, you're going to peel off the sticker on the back and place it on your wood block. And I do, because these are permanent, I do try to get it straight. When I'm putting together my stamps, I work on a grid mat so that I can take a stamp pad and ink this up and line up the edge of my wood block with lines on the grid to judge how straight it is, how straight an image is. That actually looks really good. If it was a little crooked, I can quickly and carefully peel this up and replace it. Once your images are on your blocks for a while, though, they are not removable. So do that. Check your stamps as you're putting them together to make sure that they're straight. Once you get it on there straight, you can find the indexing sticker that goes on the top. You want to make sure you put it on the right way, not upside down. So I usually check and place your indexing sticker on the top, and that's all you have to do to put your stamps together. A benefit to wood mount stamps is that you only have to put them together one time. I also really like the feel of wood in my hand when I'm stamping, but that's just my personal preference. All of our stamps come in these video style cases, including the wood mount, but they are thicker to accommodate the wood block, so they're a little bit bulkier to store. The next type of stamp that we offer is a clear mount stamp. This is sometimes confusing to people because they think that clear means that the stamp images are clear. Clear mount stamps are actually rubber images, rubber stamp images with a cling foam on the top. These are mounted temporarily onto our clear blocks. We sell clear blocks in 9 sizes, which can be purchased individually or as a bundle, which includes all of them. A benefit to clear mount is that the stamp sets are less expensive because you're reusing this part. You're not purchasing the wood. Let me show you really quickly how to put a clear mount stamp together. These again are die cut, so you'll just punch out a stamp image. There is a coordinating label. So you'll want to, which stamp did I punch out? So you'll want to find the label that coordinates with it. And you'll just peel this off. This piece down here is sticky. You can peel off the sticker on the back of your stamp and very carefully line it up here and press. When you peel it off, you've got your sticker on the other side, and it should line up with the words underneath. Some people don't like to actually put the stickers on the top. They feel that the stamps cling better to the clear blocks without the sticker on them. Let me show you a way that I've found to help these to stick. This is a tool we used to have. It's called a two-way glue pen. I know you can find these at craft stores. We don't currently carry it in our catalog. But what a two-way glue pen does is when you apply it, if you let it dry after you apply it, it becomes like a Post-it note. You can stick something to it and peel it off. So what I do is just take my two-way glue and color some glue on the top of my image. And I don't know if you can see that there is some color on there. If I were to adhere this to something now, it would stick permanently. But I just stick it in my slot here and let it dry overnight, and it will become like a Post-it note. I can stick it to a clear block and peel it off. This is what I did a little bit earlier. I can stick this on here. I can stamp, clean my stamps, and it's going to peel right off. It makes it a lot easier to keep the stamp on the clear block when you're using it. I do keep the outside of my rubber here too, so that I can store my stamps in their little slots. It just makes it really easy to see what's in the set when I open it up. I'm going to set this one aside to dry. The last type of stamp is a photopolymer stamp, and these are transparent images that temporarily mount onto the clear blocks. There's no assembly required with photopolymer images. You just peel them, stick them on the stamp, and you're ready to go. One benefit of photopolymer is that they are truly clear, so it's really easy to see exactly where an image is going to go when you're putting it onto paper. Multiple images can also be put onto a stamp block at one time, and like the clear mount stamps, the photopolymer cases are thinner, so you get double the storage space. When you're done with it, you just peel it off, adhere it back in its spot on your plastic sheet, and you're ready to go. Ink is the next important ingredient to stamping, so let me start with our classic Stampin' pads. And actually, I'm going to open up the catalog here to show you this. We currently have 40 ink colors broken up into 4 color families. I'll put this up here so you can see it. We have neutrals, brights, subtles, and regals. And we also have 10 in colors. The in colors help round out our color collections, and they keep our colors fresh and up to date. These colors are only available for 2 years before they retire and we get new ones. These inks are water-based, which makes them quick drying, and the colors are gorgeous. The pads have a flip top, which means that they are stored upside down when they're not in use. So when you open it, all the ink is at the surface of the pad where you need it to be. They are stackable. You'll see there's a little buttons here on the bottom of each one, and then on the top there's the little grooves that they fit in, so you can stack them for easy storage like that. Each pad comes with stickers on the back. You just choose the one that is in your language, and that sticker goes right here on the front. Then we also have on the back of each one a sticker with no writing on it. What you're going to do with that one is peel it up, and you're going to place that one right inside this little tray, so that when you have your pads open, you can see what colors you're using, just like that. Our pads feature firm foam, which help to evenly distribute ink over an image, and I'll talk about why that is important in a few minutes. Finally, reinkers are available in every color, so the life of your stamp pad will be very, very long. There's two other stamp pads that I want to talk about today. Both of these are black. The first one is Jet Black Stays On. The second is Tuxedo Black Memento Pad. Both of these are permanent inks and will work for any paper stamping project. Each has a use for more advanced stamping techniques, but I'll cover those in a future video. Just know that for black stamping on paper, either of these will work. The last ingredient to basic stamping is paper. I know that paper is available in lots of places, but let me encourage you to choose Stampin' Up! As your paper source for a couple of reasons. Our cardstocks are the highest quality and are an excellent, sturdy choice for card bases, layers, and accents. This is important because you're making cards and projects that people will treasure, so you want them to hold up. Our cardstocks are dyed all the way through and do not have a white core. The colors coordinate perfectly with our ink pads, ribbons, many accessories, and printed designer series papers. So you have the three basic ingredients: stamps, ink, paper. Let me show you a few tips for putting them together to create a finished project. For this card, I'm using a clear mount set called Perennial Birthday. This is a good beginning set because the images can be stamped in solid colors with a really pretty result. Most of the sentiments in this set are related to birthdays, and honestly, most of the cards I send out are probably birthdays or thank yous. This set has a couple of sentiment images that could be used for an occasion other than a birthday too, which brings up an important point. With so many stamp image options, choosing sets can be overwhelming in the beginning. Your first sets should include images that will be versatile for multiple occasions. So, this is what I'm going to do for this set. The first thing I want to do is mount the images that I'm going to use onto my clear blocks. I have 3 different sizes here, so I'm going to mount this one on here. It's on that one. And then the smaller block, actually I'm going to use 2 different images with it. I'm going to pull this one out and change it out here in a minute. Okay, I'm going to start with a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and the first thing I like to do actually is to open up all of my stamp pads, the ones I'm going to use, and set them out. And actually the way I have these set out here, you can see, or I can see, what color I'm using right there, because I'm closing the lid so I can't see the little tray. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is ink up my sentiment, and I talked about the firm foam a little bit earlier. I mentioned that it helps distribute ink evenly. The other thing that it does is it makes it so that you do not have to press really hard when you're inking up your image. You just really want to lightly tap your image and you're going to get really good ink coverage on there. If you press hard, you could get extra ink on here that you don't want. You can also get ink around the edges, which sometimes will show up when you go to stamp if you're pressing really hard. But that's another thing, is you do not have to press really hard when you go to stamp. You've got plenty of ink on here. You're just gonna lay your image straight down and pull it straight up. Don't rock it. If you get ink on here and you rock an image, it tends to blur it a little bit. And you can see also here, see I pressed too hard, I got ink around the edge, which showed up right here. But that's the nice thing about our stamp pads, is you don't have to do either of those things. Just remember, tap, tap, and gently stamp. You're gonna get really nice clear images. Okay, now I want to add a little bit of Poppy Parade. By the way, this color is called Gorgeous Grape. And I'm gonna stamp this a couple of times. And I could stamp it in a row, I could stamp it however I wanted. I do like to kind of turn my images each time I stamp it so that they're not all the same direction. That kind of makes it look a little bit more natural. Now I'm going to stamp a few of these little purple flowers, a few more in the Gorgeous Grape, and what I want to do with this one is I'm going to ink it up and I'm going to blot it off on my scratch paper before I stamp it. And what that does is it makes my image just a little bit lighter, so you can get different colors with the same stamp pad. Don't be afraid to stamp off the paper. Again, that kind of makes it look more natural. One more. Oops, and see, that one I didn't blot off first. But you know what? If I wanted to, I could flip this over and do it again, because every piece of paper has the real side and the practice side. But I have realized that most people probably wouldn't even notice that. And if I really wanted to make it look like I meant to do that, I could stamp a couple more like that too. So there's really no mistakes in stamping. No mistakes that you can't cover up anyway. All right. So now I've got my leaf on here, and I'm going to go with the green and fill in. You can overlap them a little bit, that's okay. So there I've got my little focal point stamped. The next thing I want to do is to layer it. My general rule of thumb for layering is to take the piece, my focal piece, and cut my layers 1/4 inch bigger. So I had cut this piece 3 inches by 4 inches. So my layer is 3 1/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. There's a lot of different adhesives that you can use. I prefer to use our snail. It's just it's in this little cartridge. You can, when it runs out, you just pop this out, put in a new one, throw this part away, keep this part. This is what your new one's going to go into. These are really convenient. The way they work is you just start where you're going to start, pull. When you get to the end, you're going to flick your wrist. That'll stop it. And you do not have to add a lot of adhesive, but I like to put a decent amount on here because, again, people like to keep these cards and you want to make sure they're going to stay together. So I like to put a good amount of adhesive on the back. I'm just going to layer this like that. And then I'm going to put it onto my card base. A card base is basically an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper cut in half. You can cut it either direction. Let me show you here. This is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. You can cut it in half this way and fold it, or cut it in half this way and fold it. Either way, you get the same size card. It just opens a little bit differently. So in my case, I cut it in half so that it ends up being 5 1/4 inches wide by 8.5 inches long. I'm sorry, 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. I'm going to fold this in half and give it a good crease. And add my adhesive on the back. And place that on the front, like that. And there's my finished card. If I wanted to, I could also add a little bit of stamping to an envelope and have that coordinate. We'll stamp that on there. And I have to remount this again. And add a couple of my little purple flowers. It's actually easiest to set it down and adhere it like that. And a couple of the leaves. And there I have a really simple, sweet little matching card and envelope. Cleaning your stamps might be a question that you have. My favorite new way to clean them is with a little tool we have called the Stampin' Chamois. When you get it, it'll be really nice and clean like this. Once you use it, it'll look like this. Don't worry, it still works great. When it dries, the chamois is really hard, but when it's wet, it's really flexible. What you want to do is get this wet and wring most of the water out, and then you can just take your stamp images and clean them on here. See how it gets all the ink out of all the little nooks and crannies. You can stamp it on your scratch paper to make sure that there's no ink coming off still. And this one, actually, let me put it back on here one last time so I can clean it. So all my stamps are clean now. I can put them back into the box and they're ready to go. The chamois fits really nicely into one of the video cases that we store our stamps in, so it's really handy to just keep laying on your work surface so you can clean your stamps really easily. And there you go. That's how simple a basic stamped card can be. Over the years, I've found that people love receiving a hand-stamped card because they know I took the time to make it for them. It doesn't have to be hard, and it's totally worth the effort. I truly hope that you catch the stamping bug and that hand stamping your cards becomes something you love to do. When you're ready to take it to the next level, be sure to check my video library for tutorials on many techniques, as well as how to use a variety of tools and accessories. Thanks again for joining me for this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my blog at pocketfulofstamps.com. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook. Until next time, happy stamping!